everyone. Thanks for joining us this week on the Extra Point Show.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining us. We're obviously going to cover the conference championship games here that were recently happened. But first, we have some other news in terms of probably the biggest news in the NFL right now. Former Miami head coach Brian Flores is suing the NFL and three of its teams, the Broncos, Dolphins, and Giants, alleging a pattern of racist hiring practices by the league and racial discrimination during the interview process with Denver and New York, as well as during his tenure with Miami.
Yeah. So obviously, huge accusations. There was a lawsuit that, definitely have tremendous ramifications on several fronts. Not only,
man's not coaching in the NFL again. I would say after this, most likely.
It'd be. I wouldn't anticipate so. Now the one thing I will mention is, shockingly enough, he's actually still in consideration for two head coaching jobs with the Texans and who's the other one? The Texans and
I honestly don't know.
I want to say and the Saints. That's the other one. The Texans and the Saints.
I think he should still be able to be a head coach. It's not that I think that he shouldn't be. It's just
it's just a hell of a stance. And
it's a big thing to do, and it seems more likely that but although the NFL might take the stance, if we don't allow him to coach or have an opportunity to coach, that's going to look real bad on us as well. So it's kind of a coin toss there. You're not really sure, but
and what's interesting is this is on the tail end of this is the second former head coach to sue a team this year. Obviously, we reported earlier in the season on John Gruden suing the NFL. So now this is Brian Flores, obviously for a completely different reason, but they failed to make the playoffs at any point during his tenure. So what he is stating in his lawsuit is that the league's discriminated against Flores and other black coaches for racial reasons, denying them positions as head coaches, coordinators, and positional coaches, as well as general managers and front office personnel.
It's an interesting position to take to say that, though, considering he was the head coach for several years. It is an odd firing given his record, but to say like they discriminate, they did hire him.
Yeah.
But so it just, I don't know. It just seems, it does seem that there is some kind of racial discrimination going on in the NFL in terms of that. But he was the head coach for several years. He did get the job. But
yeah. He definitely did.
And he also was quoted as saying it was time to stop being quiet about the injustices that are happening. He said over the phone to NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe, "This was long overdue. There's plenty of racism that needs to be exposed." And maybe that's the case. If it is, then I would agree. If they're just bringing somebody in just to give the image that they're going to consider that, just to check the box, then that's not right, man. You gotta base it on merit.
Not. There's a lot of talented, positional coach. There's a lot of talented coaches out there of every color. I think Robert Saleh is like the only coach of Middle Eastern descent in the NFL.
Is Ron Rivera the only Hispanic coach? I believe
only Hispanic head coach. The only other one I can think of, there was Tom Flores with the Raiders back in the day, but there haven't been a lot of Hispanic head coaches either. Obviously, right now with those firings, there's only one active, black head coach, and that is Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh.
Mike Tomlin, yes.
Then there's also, as we mentioned, Robert Saleh in New York. He's a minority head coach. Ron in Washington, he's Hispanic, and then I want to say there's one other one, but I'm not thinking of it right now. Oh, Flores was also quoted as saying, "God has gifted me with a special talent to coach the game of football, but the change for need." Is that the quote that you said?
Oh no, I said the other one.
Okay. But the need for change is bigger than my personal goals. In making the decision to file this class action complaint today, I understand that I may be risking coaching the game that I love and that has done so much for my family and me. My sincere hope is that by standing up against systemic racism in the NFL, others will join me to ensure that positive change is made for generations to come. So, yeah, like we said, definitely a ballsy move. I do hope that Flores gets another opportunity because, he definitely seemed like he would be a good head coach. It seemed like he had a good thing going in Miami.
Definitely.
They didn't start out hot, but they won 7 straight games. How often do you remove your coach after after that kind of a winning streak. I obviously,
Right.
that 1-7 start killed their playoff chances, but they were in the playoff race until, maybe the last game of the season.
Mhm.
So the NFL, of course, came out with an early statement, as they do. The NFL and our clubs are deeply committed to ensuring equitable employment practices and continue to make progress in providing equitable opportunities throughout our organizations, the statement read. Diversity is core to everything we do, and there are few issues on which our clubs and our internal leadership team spend more time. We will defend against these claims, which are without merit. So, typical, NFL spokesperson.
True. I mean, this kind of thing is what makes me think that he probably won't coach again in the NFL because he's making some bold claims here, and even if the claims are true, the NFL is more than likely not going to want to sit there and admit to that. So
Right.
it doesn't. It's almost. I mean, it depends on how this lawsuit goes, but that's why I don't expect him to coach again, just due to that. But I mean, if his claims are
if
with
they're
merit,
valid,
then,
yeah. So
yeah,
I
if
mean,
they're valid,
and
then
some of what he's saying, because I think a lot of the stuff more racially based applies to. I don't know how much of the Miami stuff is, because we'll get into that. So his suit against the Dolphins, he's saying that it's typical for black coaches who are not given more latitude, as far as time to succeed. So he's saying that he wasn't given as much time as, maybe say a white coach in that position.
given his record and the way it's been since he's been the coach, that makes sense because you wouldn't expect him to be fired given the way that
Yeah.
he's his record the last.
He was
several
24 and
seasons.
25, one game under 500. So I mean,
Yeah, and it was the damn Dolphins. I mean,
yeah.
come on, give the man a break.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
pretty good.
you look at what position they were in before with the previous coach, Adam Gase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, when he says these things, it looks like that would be the case because you would see a coach like this with that record, and you'd be like, why would they fire him? Who do they think they're going to get that is going to do better? I mean, I'm curious to see who they hire.
Maybe they're trying to get Mike McDaniel. That's one thing we're going to mention. Former, current Niners offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. Also, Kellen Moore, the Cowboys offensive coordinator, had a second interview on Saturday, so he's getting strong consideration. So, but yeah, so as far as this goes, he's also saying in the suit that Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross told Brian Flores that he would pay him $100,000 for every loss during the coach's first season because he wanted the club to tank so that it could get the top pick in the 2020 draft, which would eventually go to Cincinnati and be used on quarterback Joe Burrow. Joe Shiesty, who's in the Super Bowl, and you
Joey Cool.
Yeah, and you can see why they wanted him. So the lawsuit also alleges that Ross then pressured Flores to a recruiting trip on a yacht to try to recruit a prominent free agent quarterback, which would have been Tom Brady, which was reported by Rappaport, which would have been in violation of the league's tampering policies. So Flores apparently refused, left the meeting, and he said that after that he was ostracized and ultimately fired. Maybe, wanting to recruit Tom Brady because of his prior New England connection. So Stephen Ross issued a statement Wednesday night and said, with regards to the allegations being made Wednesday night, with regards to the allegations being made by Brian Flores, I am a man of honor and integrity and cannot let them stand without responding. I take great personal exception to these malicious attacks, and the truth must be known. His allegations are false, malicious, and defamatory. We understand there are media reports stating that the NFL intends to investigate his claims, and we will cooperate fully. I welcome that investigation and am eager to defend my personal integrity and the integrity and values of the entire Miami Dolphins organization from the baseless, unfair, and disparaging claims. So, one thing interesting about that is after that happened and he came out with that claim, former Browns head coach, we've mentioned him on the show before, Hugh Jackson, said that during his tenure with the Browns, owner Jimmy Haslam did the same thing with him. And, I mean, Hugh Jackson was like, I think he won like 4 games in like 3 seasons with the Browns. So if that was the case and he was getting like $100,000 a loss, I mean, that man cashed out. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, because that team, didn't win many games at all. They had the NFL's first 0-16 season. So
So after he was fired by
yeah,
Miami, I find this interesting as well. Several teams requested to interview him
hmm
for their head coaching openings,
yeah,
and the lawsuit alleges that one of the teams, the New York Giants, which I'm not a huge fan of, which is
right,
probably known, engaged in a sham interview process with Flores for their vacancy.
yeah,
The suit also alleges that Patriots head coach Bill Belichick mistakenly
yeah.
disclosed to
Oh
Flores in a
man,
text message
Bill,
exchanged on
Bill fucked
January
up, dude. Oh my
24th,
God.
3 days before he was
He
set
texts
to
he
interview
texts
with
the
the
wrong
Giants.
Brian. Like, how many times has that happened to you? And you just text the wrong person. Like, I know I've done it. I'm guilty.
Oh man,
Like,
that's
and
ridiculous.
it's
So
yeah,
he texted him that they intended to hire the Bills offensive coordinator Brian Dable,
yeah. Like he essentially was like
who is white.
congratulating, Brian on the job. He's like,
Right.
congratulations, yeah. So wow.
Jesus.
And like they ended up like pretty much he got that text before he had even interviewed. And
Hmm.
Flores on an interview with Get Up, they asked him why he went and did the interview, and he's like, I wanted to put my best foot forward. Obviously, there's only you only get so many of these opportunities, so I
Hmm.
wanted to go and give my best opportunity. But yeah, and then they announced the hiring of Dable just 2 days after. So then the Giants, um, let's see. Um,
Oh, yeah, so he
okay,
went on to give an extensive interview for a
yeah,
job that he
yeah,
already knew he wouldn't get.
yeah. So that's what
So it was
that's
held
what his
for no reason
sources
other
said.
than the Giants to demonstrate falsely to the league commissioner Roger Goodell and the public at large that it was in compliance with the Rooney
Yeah,
Rule,
yeah.
which is
The,
what the suit alleges.
and the Rooney Rule, of course, which, of course, by rule, identifies the team must at least interview two minority candidates for head coaching, positional coaches, or front office positions within the GM, and that rule was instituted in 2003. So the Giants, of course, issued a statement saying that we're pleased and confident with the process, and that resulted in the hiring of Brian Dable. We interviewed an impressive and diverse group of candidates. The fact of the matter is Brian Flores was in the conversation to be our head coach until the 11th hour. Ultimately, we hired the individual we felt the most qualified to be our next head coach.
Oh, yeah, and of course that's what they're going to say.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he does have Flores has another example with the Broncos in 2019, saying another sham interview occurred. That one alleges that the then general manager John Elway, CEO Joe Ellis, and others arrived an hour late to the interview and appeared disheveled, and
That's
it
a
was
bad
obvious
that's a
that they
bad
had been
look.
drinking heavily the night
That's a
before. And
bad
it's like,
look.
really, guys, really?
For a head coaching
Uh,
interview.
I know, like. So
And
the suit
for and
alleges it was clear to the Broncos, or clear that the Broncos, I'm sorry, interviewed Flores just to fulfill the Rooney Rule, which I have to say, having that rule that exists, I mean, I get the reason it exists, and it's
yeah.
probably good it is, because if they're just going to sit there and ignore people based on race, then that isn't really right. But
Right.
it kind of opens the door for this kind of
For
thing to
this, yeah,
happen, where people they're just going to bring
does.
them in just because they have to, and
Yeah.
it's like that's not. I don't know. It's like it's
Yeah,
uh,
I heard
weird.
somebody on a podcast once say that he had talked to an NFL like coordinator or an NFL position coach once who had said that like I'm gonna bring you in to interview for an offensive coordinator position that you're not gonna get, but it at
Mhm.
least gets your name in the conversation for offensive coordinator spots around the league. So it's like,
Right.
wow. So they're like not even like outwardly in some cases, denying this. But yeah,
I mean, that also could work in a way. I mean, that might help. That might help them out. I
it
mean, it is
might, it
actually kind
might,
of a point. Okay, well, you got interviewed, so maybe another. I mean, it's shitty. I'm not saying it's like a good thing,
right?
but like I guess maybe it could potentially help somebody.
Yeah,
But after this, with the Broncos, and they hired. I'm sorry, they hired Vic
Big
Fangio, who was
Fangio.
also white,
Yeah,
for the position, and then he was fired in January of this year.
after 3 seasons. Yeah, so Vic's
Mhm.
out, and the
Yeah,
Broncos.
the allegations from Brian Flores directed towards the Denver Broncos, and this is a quote. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah. So this is the statement that the Broncos said. So they of course issued their statement too.
I see. Okay, I didn't see. Okay. So, yeah, the allegations from Brian Flores directed toward the Denver Broncos in today's court filings are blatantly false, the Broncos said in a statement. Our interview with Mr. Flores regarding our head coaching position began promptly at the scheduled time of 7:30 a.m. on January 5th of 2019 in a Providence, Rhode Island hotel. There were 5 Broncos executives present for the interview, which lasted approximately 3.5 hours, the fully allotted time, and concluded shortly before 11 a.m. So very different story than Brian Flores paints.
Right,
So
right,
it'll be
right.
interesting to see what the truth actually is.
Yeah.
Given this, I mean, because obviously something has to be true here. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then like we had mentioned that the Rooney Rule it's been in existence since 2003, but it was amended in 2020 to stipulate that they must interview now 2 candidates. It used to just be 1. Um, and the rule, of course, is named after Dan Rooney, former Pittsburgh Steelers chairman, and chairman of the league, or former Pittsburgh Steelers owner and the chairman of the league's diversity committee. And it was created in reaction to the 2002 firings of head coaches Tony Dungy, who of course was great in Tampa and Indianapolis, more notably with Peyton, and Denny Green, who was with the Vikings. And at the time, uh, Dungy had a winning record, and Green just had 1 losing season in 10 years. So obviously that kind of caused an uproar, and there was a U.S. Civil suit that involved attorneys Cyrus, Mary, and Johnny Cochran, of course, known as the one of the O.J. Simpson attorneys,
yeah,
who released a study showing that black head coaches, despite winning a higher percentage of games in the NFL, were less likely to get hired and more likely to be fired than their white counterparts. So former NFL players Kellen Winslow and John Wooten also put together an affinity group of minority scouts, coaches, and front office personnel to advocate for the rules creation as well. So I just wanted to finish up by mentioning that.
yeah. I mean, it seems like if discrimination was happening, and that's really not hard to imagine that it was, given the way things have been in this country in the past, and still aren't perfect. So it's not hard to imagine. And you would think, I would side on the side of Brian Flores, being what he says is probably more likely true than I don't really trust the NFL as a whole or Roger Goodell. So
Yeah. One thing I will say about Brian Flores overall is I've seen now obviously we've heard reports that he's like chewed the shit out of Tua and stuff. But I'm not saying that makes him a bad person. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that do that. Flores has always struck me as a super professional, super upstanding guy. So I don't take him as a liar. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll certainly continue to follow that situation, but
yeah, that will
interesting to
definitely be
see
interesting.
if he ends up coaching again. I mean, like we said, I mean, I'm hopeful that he'll get the opportunity, but we'll certainly see.
Yeah, definitely.
And then
So in some other coaching news, the Raiders and Jaguars have hired head coaches,
they sure did.
leaving only 4 teams currently looking for a head coach, which are the Vikings, although they are expected to hire Rams assistant Kevin O'Connell,
Yep.
the Texans, the Saints, and
The Dolphins.
the Dolphins. The
Yep.
Dolphins.
Yeah. And so they can't officially hire O'Connell until after the Super Bowl. So obviously,
that makes sense.
yeah. So they're not allowed to officially offer him that position.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the Dolphins also expected to maybe hire Mike McDaniel, 49ers offensive coordinator, but also Kellen Moore, the Cowboys offensive coordinator, is in the mix. Saints, right now the favorite is defensive coordinator Dennis Allen, who they could stay in house to get. And as far as the jobs that were filled, yeah, Las Vegas Raiders going with an offensive mind after we found out that unfortunately it's gonna close the book on Rich Bisaccia not getting the job. I mean, hell of an effort, for Rich Bisaccia.
Yeah.
Like 7-5 down the stretch as an interim head coach.
They
Probably
rarely keep the interim head coaches, though. I mean, that seems
rarely.
common. They almost never do.
Rarely.
So even with that good of a record, I mean, you would think with that, maybe give the man a shot.
Jason Garrett was an interim head coach. Doug Marrone in Jacksonville was an interim head coach. So it happens occasionally, but you're right. More often than not, that guy is definitely getting replaced. Now, what's interesting enough is Rich Bisaccia now in the mix for the 49ers special teams coordinator position. So
okay.
I'd like to bring him in. I mean, that'd be a good get since Richard Hightower, our former special teams coach, officially signs with the Bears today. So yeah. But Josh McDaniel, let's talk about this hire. Former longtime Patriots offensive coordinator. They were looking for a GM as well after they fired Mike Mayock, and they also bring in former Patriots front office guy Dave Ziegler as the new GM. And as Rappaport reported on Sunday, McDaniels has been a top Patriot assistant for the better part of 2 decades, serving on all 6 of their Super Bowl staffs as the offensive coordinator from 2005 to 2008. And then he left to be head coach for a couple seasons, returned from 2012 to 2021. And this past season, he was instrumental in the development of rookie quarterback Mac Jones, who I think we can all agree of all the rookie quarterbacks would by far have looked the best.
Definitely.
The young man made himself, he got himself to the Pro Bowl. Good for you, Mac Oracle.
Yeah, I was watching it earlier and I messaged you. I was like, dude, Mac Jones is in the Pro Bowl?
Jones,
what?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that's going to be good. It'll be interesting to see if that hire, what that means for Derek Carr, because they do have him in place. Derek Carr coming off maybe his best season ever, and first playoff game that he's ever played in his career. So I mean, Josh McDaniels he's inheriting a playoff caliber team. He's like the one head coach that's going to an already playoff caliber team, other than maybe whoever takes over in Miami. I will say, because those are probably the 2 best positions. Oh, and the Vikings, I could say, could be a playoff team.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, like most teams that are hiring head coaches are in the fucking gutter right now. So, yeah. So poor Rich Bisaccia didn't get an opportunity to be the head coach. He did get to be a head coach for 12 games in the NFL, which is that's got to be a dream come true. Very, very excellent for him. And this will technically be McDaniel's 3rd foray into coaching, although he's only actually worked one of those jobs. Now, he was hired by the Broncos when he left the Patriots. And in 2009, in 2 seasons with the Broncos, he had a record of 11-17. And he was
not great.
Yeah, he was the head coach when they brought in Tebow. So, I mean, he was
Wow.
kind of like hamstrung by that. So I think that was a big reason. But he was hired at just 32 years old. So obviously, like at that time, like the youngest head coach in the history of the time, or in the history of the league. So he ends up getting fired after 2 seasons there. And then in 2011 was the Rams offensive coordinator before returning to New England for all these years past. In 2018, McDaniels had also been offered the head coaching job of the Indianapolis Colts. However, I think he got inside information that Andrew Luck was going to be retiring, and he ended up withdrawing from the position the same day in typical Belichickian fashion. And McDaniels may be of all the Belichick assistants to get head coaching jobs, McDaniels might be the truest Belichick assistant of all time. I mean, people have said for years that he might be hanging around New England because he was the inevitable successor when Bill does hang it up. But because in 2018, he takes the Colts job and then he backs out. And why I say that's like a Belichick move is Belichick actually, after leaving the Browns, accepted the head coach job of the New York Jets. And then, this is why Jets fans hate Belichick so much. And then, the same day, he writes on a napkin, like, I resign. Like, that's his statement. And then he goes up and he's like, I resign as head coach of the New York Jets. Same day. And then he just bails. And then he takes the Patriots job the next day. Yeah.
Wow. So fucking badass.
Which is, of course, a division rival. So, nobody in the history of time's ever done that other than Belichick, his top assistant. I'll take your job. Oh wait, Andrew Luck's retiring. That's a way less appealing job now. Fuck it, I'm out. Which is true. I mean, I can't blame McDaniels one bit, but he's going to get another opportunity here. And if he's got Derek Carr, we'll see what happens. But there's also been rumors that McDaniels may want to. It's also been rumored that if they get rid of Derek Carr there, and maybe Derek Carr goes somewhere else, that maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is a potential landing area. As we know, Jimmy spent 3 years in McDaniel's offense in New England.
Yeah, that definitely seems likely since we already know Jimmy's going somewhere.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And we'll get more into that here in a little bit. But let's talk about the other head coaching job that got finalized.
oh yeah, the
Before you go
Jaguars'
well.
long coaching search
Yeah.
finally comes to an end and
Yeah.
marks a new beginning for ex-Eagles coach Doug Peterson.
Yeah. Super Bowl champion Doug Peterson. This is by far,
Yeah.
I would say, of all the Jaguars head coaches, and there haven't been that many because they've been an expansion team since '96, I want to say. Am I right on that? But anyway,
I don't know, honestly.
they haven't had that, they haven't had that many head coaches. So that is but of all the head coaches that they've hired, at time of hiring, he is the most accomplished. And
Yeah, absolutely.
they did have Tom Coughlin, who was their coach, who obviously went on to win 2 Super Bowls with the Giants after he left the Jaguars. But they've never hired somebody that's been this. They did hire Urban Meyer. That was a big splash hire last year.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
obviously
that was obviously a bust.
Yeah, that did not work out. Now Urban Meyer with his 3 national championships.
Yeah, the owner, Jaguars owner Shad Khan thought he'd struck gold landing Urban Meyer, and then now they have a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah,
and I guess he was no, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what year did I say for the expansion team?
96. You said 96.
Fuck, it's 95. Close though.
It's fucking pretty close, man. You basically got it. Just damn close. I'll give you that one.
Do the Robert De Niro face.
Right. So the Jaguars owner is quoted as saying, Doug Peterson 4 years ago won a Super Bowl as head coach of a franchise in pursuit of its first world championship. Khan said in a statement, I hope Doug can replicate that magic here in Jacksonville, but what is certain is his proven leadership and experience as a winning head coach in the National Football League. It's exactly what our players deserve, nothing less. Combine this with his acumen on the offensive side of the ball, and you have why I am proud to name Doug Peterson the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
I know our fans will warmly welcome Doug and his family to Duval, and I personally look forward to having Doug as part of everything we envision for the team, downtown and community in years ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Doug Peterson is a guy that's always been liked by his players. So I think you're going to have a guy that, like they had Urban Meyer, and now they've got, who, like, was yelling at fucking people and, like, hey, you're a fucking failure. And,
kicking people and shit.
Yeah, and then you've got Doug Peterson who's like, hey, bud. And Doug Peterson's a former NFL quarterback himself. So who else do you want to bring along, the future in young,
right.
Young Trevor Lawrence? But yeah,
it should be a good hire for them. I think. I mean, they need something.
I think of all the head coaching hires so far, I think this is the best one. And also, let's give it up to Coach Peterson, as we've reported before on the show. Not only 42, 37, and 1 in Philadelphia as the head coach, reaching the playoffs 3 consecutive seasons, but also, taking 3 swings off his golf game in the offseason. I mean, that's a hell of a job, Coach Peterson. Jesus. Good job, bud.
That is hard to do. Golf is a hard game.
It is.
I don't know if anyone's played golf before, but Jesus, I like to play golf, but Jesus, it's a hard fucking game.
Yeah. We got to give it up to Coach Peterson. Yeah, I mean, that's
taking 3 strokes off his game. Good. Yeah, damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, he's going to have some weapons there. I mean, he's going to have young James Robinson, Trevor Lawrence. So they've got some weapons in Jacksonville. So and guess what? They've got the first pick in the draft again. So definitely some position to work with after a 3-14 campaign. But I mean, we'll just finish this off on Peterson real quick. I mean, he's known for doing some of his best work with getting some of the best seasons out of Alex Smith, Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, and obviously that's had to have been partial in the deciding factor.
Yeah, they really do need someone to help develop Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's obviously got some talent, but they need some. Urban Meyer obviously was not the guy and did not have the ability. You're not teaching college, and I even feel bad for the guys in college that have Urban Meyer as their coach. Jesus Christ, that must be terrible.
Well, nobody has him right now. We'll see if he ever comes
back.
But
they did. I mean, for a while, right? Like he was a college coach for a long time.
Long time.
A lot of motherfuckers got kicked. I bet. And they had to just take that shit.
Yeah.
Like, you want to lose your scholarship, boy? I'm just gonna kick you. It's like, Jesus, man, you gotta chill out.
And, it's interesting enough because Doug Peterson was the first candidate the Jags interviewed, and then they came back to him. For a while, it seemed like they were going to hire former Jaguars 7th overall pick Byron Leftwich, Buccaneers offensive coordinator, but obviously Byron withdrew his candidacy. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's see here. Oh, and then also, Doug Peterson said this is not an overnight fix. This is not we're just going to snap our fingers and start winning football games. Our goal is to win football games, but we're going to do it one player, one coach, one person in the organization at a time. And I'll challenge our team and I'll challenge our fans. It's about ownership, it's about support, it's about leadership, and that's what I'll bring. That's what I'll bring to the organization, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than a championship caliber team. So, certainly saying all the right things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they usually do, but it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how it goes. I do expect with that hiring that they will have a better record than this season.
Yeah.
I would maybe, if I had to put a bet on it, I'd say at least twice as many wins.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
And
you know, like I definitely got to give Coach Peterson like a 7 out of 10 on the introductory press conference. I mean, I do evaluate the head coaching. I think the new standard, as we can all agree, is the Dan Campbell introductory press conference.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was.
It's hard to beat a guy talking about, you know, gnawing off kneecaps. And you know what? True to form, they did. They hung in every single damn game they were in all season. So, good for them.
Yeah.
A couple things we'll just finish up here on the coaching front. Since I know we mentioned, you know, who are the Bears going to get since they went defensive coach with Matt Eberflus to be the offensive mind for young Justin Fields. And they end up signing former Packers quarterback coach Luke Getsy as their new offensive coordinator. Eberflus also brings in a former Colts assistant in Alan Williams, the Colts defensive backs coach, to be the new Bears defensive coordinator. So I expected the Bears to make more of a splashy offensive coordinator hire, you know, like maybe go for a bigger name. But, you know, certainly Luke Getsy, known for his work with Aaron Rodgers, you know.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers,
yes,
we got some news with him. We don't know what his plans are going to be.
We don't.
After his season ended after a fantastic divisional round loss to the Niners. I mean, it really wasn't a fantastic loss. I mean, the game kind of sucked, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. It was great that they won the game, but I guess after the game, he didn't hop on a jet and fly to Los Angeles frustrated, and with his future hanging in the balance, the Packers quarterback stuck around in Green Bay. Sources say that he stayed in the building for a few extra days to plot out the team's future, huddling with Coach Matt LaFleur and others, mapping out what's next.
Yeah.
It left those in the organization with confidence moving forward that Rodgers will return for the 2022 season.
Yeah.
I know a lot of teams out there are hoping that wouldn't be the case,
right.
and maybe he would move on somewhere.
I've seen
that's kind of what I was
fans
expecting.
Hoping. It's like, even with like the
right?
future being Trey, even though we've invested like so much in Trey, they're like, you know, if we could get Aaron, you know, which, I mean, I get it. It's like, you know, when Tom Brady was available, it's like if you can make a play, because how often has he ever been? He's never been a free agent before. So, but
so it seems like he will possibly return, but it's really up in the air at this point. I mean, they're hoping that that's the case, but he did say publicly that all options are on the table moving forward. If from returning to retiring to working with the team on a trade, you know, or returning.
Yeah.
But he did say specifically he doesn't want to join any team in a rebuilding situation.
Right.
Obviously, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he wants to go to a contender. So you already know if you're a team that really, if you're not a good team, he does. I mean, it would be nice to see him go to somewhere like Washington, you know, that needs a quarterback, but that's the problem with trying to land these high name good quarterbacks. They oftentimes don't want to go to a team like that. And
the problem is, I think Washington is a quarterback away from I think they are a contender.
I think so as well, but I think given the name situation and just the whole, I mean, Washington. I mean, it's my team and all, but Jesus, a lot of toxic bullshit. And the owner sucks. Like, it's just a lot of bullshit there, and I'm not surprised that players don't want to go to a team like that. So when I see something like that from somebody, like, well, I don't know if I'd say they're rebuilding, but it's just I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean the Packers have a lot of questions. Obviously, they've got some salary cap issues themselves, and Davante Adams, you know, top receiver, needs a new contract or a franchise tag. So, and Davante Adams has already said that he doesn't want to play in Green Bay if Aaron Rodgers doesn't stay as well.
Right.
So the team is trying to reload as much as possible. You know, try to keep their Super Bowl window alive, because, you know, they are still a good team, one game away from the Super Bowl. And really, you know, if that game could have gone either way with us, it was really a shit show in the
It came down to that blocked punt, honestly. If it weren't for that blocked punt and return touchdown, that And they probably wouldn't have won
and
that
then
game.
the golden leg of Robbie. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, who's God bless him, 21 for 21, career postseason. But yeah, so obviously they want him back, and then recently on his weekly Pat McAfee appearance, he said there's a variety of realities that he'll consider. He said I think some of the factors are the direction of the team and the organization and how I feel I fit in the future. Um, Mentally, do I still have the passion, the competitiveness, the desire to keep playing? I think it's a feeling, and you just kind of know when the off season has started. When you're a hyper competitive individual, you also dream or think about what the fairy tale ending is. It doesn't necessarily mean Super Bowl necessarily, but that's a pretty damn good fairy tale ending. So I mean, maybe he's still going to come back, and I he's not going to retire. I mean, I'm just going to go
I
out
don't
and
think
say
he's going
that
to
right
retire.
now. I
I
don't
would
think he's
bet.
going
I
to
wouldn't
retire.
bet that either. Not
Yeah,
yet. He's only like 37
yeah.
or 38.
He's
I
38.
mean, that
Yeah.
38. Okay, so I would expect at least another
And
two
honestly,
seasons out of him.
he's the last dude. He's the last one, man.
Yeah.
Dude, we
Tom's out
like
now.
like
Ben's out.
of our generation of quarterbacks, dude. We've lost Ben. We've lost Tom. We've lost
Which I'm
Eagle.
not. I don't really care
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
Ben one. I'm kind of glad to see him
Well, I
go.
mean,
But
I'm just saying. It's the end. We've lost Eli Manning. We've lost Phillip Rivers. We've lost Tom. I said Tom Brady already.
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith. Who are the other one? Drew Brees. I don't know how
Oh
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
met.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
like
how we. Yeah.
our whole generation of the guys that we grew up like, Aaron Rodgers is the last one, man. I mean, he's the last gunslinger.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're right. Damn.
So.
I mean, you got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's still out there. I was like, there's at least like another one or two that are like you could maybe put it in that. And Jimmy's like 30, but no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Jimmy's a young man and relatively. I mean, for 3 years he was a backup. 3-4 years,
That's why he's less known. If he had played since he was like 21, then he'd probably be as well known as these guys too. But
yeah, he was practicing the sneak, and that is an excellent
Stop
segue.
trying to get under my jacket back here. There you go. Let me help you out there, puppy.
Yeah, there you go. No worries. And yeah, that Jimmy talk is actually an excellent segue into our next topic, which is possible destinations. Obviously, as we've mentioned, at the Niners end of the season press conferences where they were kind of recapping the season, Jimmy spoke with the media and was certainly very open and honest in the fact that it would be more than likely that he would be moving on. Obviously, he was more so that way than the Niners because when they talked to John and Kyle, they were more like, anything's a possibility. But it sounds more than likely like both parties are moving on. And even if Jimmy stays, I would more anticipate that to be because honestly, like I wouldn't mind Jimmy staying, but I think that for him to stay, he would have to restructure his contract and to stay as a backup. And if he's got offers to start somewhere, I don't see. I mean, he does love.
He's going to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that he'd want to play though over.
That's probably why they'd say like all possible options. Like, I mean, even if it's like backup ish, I mean, if it was Trey and him again, I'm sure they'd let Trey start most of the time to give him the experience. But like, maybe they got to put Jimmy in.
Yeah,
good,
I mean, but yeah, I mean, and I think Trey's going to be really good. I mean, like I've liked Trey since the draft process. But yeah, I mean, as we've learned, watching Niners games in the last few seasons, what happens if Trey gets injured? Then what? Then we go into Nate Sudfeld. Is that our plan?
Go do some more Nick Mullins.
What happened in the one game I saw Nate Sudfeld play? I mean, he fucking basically threw the Redskins the division, or threw Washington the division, playing for the Eagles. Remember that shit? Like they took Jalen Hurts out when they had a chance to win, and I was like, why is Nate Sudfeld coming in the game?
Yeah, that was weird.
That made no sense. Doug Peterson, it was his last game everything's coming around. His last game in an Eagles uniform. But yeah, as far as I don't know why I said uniform. He doesn't wear a uniform. Wears the Eagles insignia though. Anyway,
same difference.
Moving on. So as far as possible destinations that have been discussed for Jimmy, and a lot of this depends on what these teams do, but I think the most likely three are going to be obviously the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, they're quarterback situation right now is a bit of an unknown. They had Jameis Winston, but I think he's set to be a free agent. Taysom Hill, we know isn't going to be their
He's
starter.
not a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I really like Taysom Hill as a player. He's really fun to watch. But
so yeah, exactly. And if New Orleans got Jimmy as a starter, they could
with
have
Taysom as the
Hill.
backup, that would be phenomenal for them. I hope that's not the case, but
yeah.
I'm not a big Saints fan. I think personally, though, if I was betting, I would think Tampa would go for him. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's just because Tom was there. Maybe that's why I think that. But it just seems like Tampa seems like a stronger team. They're an established team where, it seems like that would maybe be the most likely one. And then I guess also there is Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that isn't the case, but they also, they got Dwayne Haskins. They need somebody.
Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph are the top two quarterbacks. And obviously, as we've discussed in great detail, the quarterback, draft class isn't as deep as it's been in years past. I think everybody said that any of the quarterbacks drafted in the first round last year would be drafted over any of the guys that are in this draft. So it makes it more likely that Jimmy is going to end up in one of these places. Pittsburgh.
I'd also say there is a small chance he ends up in Washington. I'm not saying there hasn't been any talk of that, but we were going to mention Washington does need a quarterback. So we'll get into that more later in the Washington segment, but there's also some big news on that front, which I'm sure you already know, but we'll get into that. Yeah. That whole thing.
and another one too worth mentioning. Yeah, Washington is a place, and then also Miami. And Miami, especially if they end up hiring Mike McDaniel, his former offensive coordinator with the Niners, as the head coach there. Also, a few of these things, there could be Las Vegas with the Raiders, with Josh McDaniels getting that job, being his former offensive coordinator. If
they move on from
Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
which I think would be really stupid. If you're going to move on from Derek Carr and get Jimmy, you're an idiot. Like, no offense to Jimmy. I love Jimmy. And Jimmy is a decent quarterback. But I put Derek Carr and Jimmy on almost the same level. Like, they're very close.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I've been saying for years that I think Derek Carr is probably a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, Derek Carr is probably a little better than Jimmy. Maybe slightly better than Jimmy.
I think so. I think Jimmy's probably top 15. I think Jimmy does a lot of things better than Jimmy's underrated in the play action game. And as you know, we'll I know we can't put up anything from the game, but maybe we can put up some clips from his postseason press conference. He's on the Alex Smith level of teammate caliber. As far as a guy that never threw any of his teammates under the bus. He was just like a consummate professional, dealt with adversity every single day. People saying that he was garbage and should be benched. Obviously, the ongoing Trey situation, injuries. Played hurt, through a sprained thumb and a sprained shoulder, and got us to the NFC Championship. So I think Jimmy deserves a lot of respect and credibility, for what he did. And I think he's definitely underrated. Yeah, he did have a lot of good things, and all those teams that we mentioned also have good defenses. The Saints, Buccaneers, Pittsburgh, the Raiders have a pretty good defense.
Washington
has a good defense. Yeah, so all those teams would help, and teams that have a good running game, would obviously be beneficial. You imagine, it would be tough to watch, but imagine him going to New Orleans where he has Michael Thomas to throw to, and Alvin Kamara to hand the ball off to. That doesn't seem like too bad of a situation. Especially now with Tom retiring, if he goes to any of those NFC South teams, they're all up for grabs. There's no Tom, there's no Sean Payton anymore. The whole NFC South's up for grabs now. But we'll have to follow that situation. Obviously, we do know that Jimmy will be moving on. Thanks for 5 years, 10, and all you did for us. We appreciate you. Definitely.
If we can't get anybody else better, if Jimmy went to Washington, at least that'd be cool, because I like Jimmy. It'd be cool to see him.
I think he'd surprise a lot of people. I think that, you probably watch more Niners games than, you definitely do, than probably most Washington fans. Yeah. So I think you would probably have a better idea And I think that if you went to Washington, I think people would be really pissed at first.
Oh yeah,
But
people would be so pissed. I can tell you firsthand from the people I know.
but
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no one wants
but
Jimmy.
I mean they didn't want Alex Smith either, and I mean
Yeah, and then Alex Smith's gone. You're like, oh, come on, where's Alex Smith at?
where's Alex? Yeah, can we get Alex? But yeah.
Yeah,
Don't know what you got till it's gone. I mean, that's how. I hope that's not how we feel with Jimmy. I mean, I really have a lot of faith in Trey, but I just hope.
right.
You do, all of you guys, the media. Since I got here, you guys have been awesome. It's been some ups and downs between all of us, but for the most part, you guys have been awesome. Just good group to deal with. You guys are very, very engaging, and it's just fun to be around you guys. You're from Eric making the jokes to everything in between. Just it's been a fun ride, guys, and I really appreciate you for that. And yeah, I'll miss you guys. So thank you guys again. Faithful, thank you very much for everything. It's been crazy, man. Just all the comebacks at Levi's, comebacks on the road, ups and downs. It's been a hell of a ride, guys. I love you guys. So see ya.
All right, now we're going to talk about the conference championship games that occurred this past weekend, and who ended up making it all this way into the Super Bowl. Obviously, we started the weekend with 4 teams. Now we're down to 2. In the NFC, in the AFC, we'll start on the AFC side. On the AFC side of things, the Cincinnati Bengals picking up the 27-24 win to go to their first Super Bowl in 30 years. So that's pretty insane.
Yeah, I think most people were probably happy to see that the Bengals won that game. I mean, I know I definitely was, and that game was insane. Like the entire game was nuts, and then the way it ends, game-winning 31-yard field goal in overtime by Evan McPherson.
I may have to buy a Bengals jersey. I'm considering it prior to.
Yeah, I might have to get a Joe Burrow jersey. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll see how the Super Bowl goes, but maybe.
I mean, I'm wearing the Bengals orange right now. I'm certainly repping the Bengals, but yeah, I mean, facing Kansas City, obviously who were favored. Kansas City coming in 12-5, Cincinnati coming in 10-7 in the regular season, and both quarterbacks played pretty well. Obviously, main difference is Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions. He was 26 of 39, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Burrow, 23 of 38, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. And Joe Mixon, the Bengals running back, had 88 yards on 21 carries. And the Chiefs' top rusher was Jerick McKinnon, former 49er and Viking, 12 carries for 65 yards. And Kelsey had 10 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Tyreek, 7 for 78 and a touchdown. And on the Bengals side of the receiving, T. Higgins, 6 catches, 103 yards. Rookie Jamar Chase, who is fucking insane, 6 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. And then Boyd, who's their third good receiver, only had 4 catches for 19 yards. But obviously, yeah, like you mentioned it, Evan McPherson, that made him, I want to say 12 for 12 in the postseason. So he's a rookie. He's yet to miss, 4 for 4 with a long of 52 in that game. So that's huge. He's been great for them, and obviously that keeps the Chiefs from going to, their third Super Bowl in 3 years.
That's why I said I think most people were kind of happy, other than Chiefs fans. I mean, good for the Bengals too,
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs definitely have their dynasty going, but yeah, I mean definitely, it's an exciting time for the city of Cincinnati, and I for one will admit that, for the week, and maybe even a little bit longer, I'm definitely a Bengals fan at the moment.
Oh yeah, same.
And then, unfortunately,
sorry, Roscoe's at the door. I forgot it had left.
Oh, you're fine.
I was just waiting until he finished that. At least that part. Okay. Sorry, Roscoe. Okay. Scratching when they go. All right.
All
Easy.
good.
We're good.
Yeah, you're good. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. And then, unfortunately, on the NFC side of things, the 49ers, after our streak of 6 straight wins against the Rams, fell just short, um, you know, 20-17, despite at one point having a 17-7 lead. But the Rams did rally with a 13-point fourth quarter, which that's notable in the sense because it's the. I mean, I'm definitely not somebody that is a proponent of saying Kyle Shanahan should be fired because I don't think that, but
Yeah, of course not.
it's been interesting that he's been involved in 3 big fourth quarter meltdowns where they had the Super Bowl in
Yeah.
2019 where they had a 20-10 lead and then lost with 7 minutes to go. This game where they had a 17-7 lead go in the fourth quarter, so up by 10, and then obviously the most notable situation when he was the offensive. He wasn't the head coach, but he was the offensive coordinator of the Falcons when they were up 28-3 over the Patriots, and then the Patriots came back for a behind Super Bowl win.
Well, that seems like it'd be more on the defense, but
yeah, but they just got really conservative on the offensive side of the ball in the second half. They scored 3 points in the second half, lost 34-31, despite scoring 28 in the first half. But yeah, anyway, I still think Kyle's a great coach, and obviously I don't think he's obviously not going to lose his job. That was our defense again. We played really good, and then when the game mattered, they kind of put us away just to go over. His numbers in his final game in a Niners uniform, we can't assume. Jimmy was 16 of 30, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. It was the first 2 touchdowns he'd thrown in his 3 playoff games this season. He did throw a couple of those. Jimmy overall, and that pick, let's mention that didn't come until the last play of the game on a play where he came under heavy pressure from Aaron Donald and was trying to avoid a sack and basically just threw it into a guy's arm. So, and that wasn't even Jimmy just to defend the situation, and obviously, I think there wasn't much he could have done because Aaron Donald got through the line so quick. I don't think he could have found anybody in that situation. So I think he was just kind of fucked from the get-go. But anyway, yeah, the Rams ended up getting the win, and they're going on to the Super Bowl, and pretty disappointing, but.
Yeah, well, go Bengals, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Matty Stafford's going to his first ever Super Bowl. Definitely hope.
I hate to say it, but I mean, before the Niners-Rams game happened, I honestly thought that the Rams looked on paper like the better team.
Yeah.
So I hate, like I said, I hate to say it, but I was thinking that they would probably win, and it sucks that they did because I obviously hoped otherwise. But they do look really good.
They have looked good at other points though, and we've still beaten them, for 6 consecutive.
That's true. It wasn't this the third game of this season?
Yeah, this was the third. This was our third matchup against them this season, and we'd gone 2-0 against them previously. So definitely. And like I said, we played well. We had the lead, and then we just collapsed. But we'll get more into that here in a little bit. But that sets us up for a Super Bowl matchup on February 13th. Of Rams versus Bengals, which will be played in Los Angeles at the Rams home stadium. So for the
that's right, another Super Bowl.
Yeah, the home team getting to play at the Super Bowl. Although weirdly enough, the Bengals will be the official home team. So we'll see. Although it's going to be mainly Rams fans there. Although I'm sure some crazy Ohio fans deprived of good football for 31 years will show up in droves, and there will be a good turnout. But
probably
Super Bowl tickets look like they're going to be insanely expensive.
Yeah, I saw something like $5-6 grand or some crazy shit.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just wanted to go ahead and recap that. 1 game left, unless you count the Pro Bowl today, which by the way the AFC won. We're not going to
Yeah,
recap
which
that. 41.
there's nothing to recap. There was like no tackling. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like goofy and entertaining, like at moments, but other than that, it was pretty bad. It's not worth watching.
It's rough.
Yeah, it really wasn't great.
It's not good ball. It's not good ball.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's football. Well, no, there's not actually.
It's guys just wanting to, give like reduced effort so they don't get hurt, which makes total sense going into the off-season programs.
Yeah. What's up? Welcome to the first ever Commanders Countdown. Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's going to take some getting used to.
It's going to take some getting used to, yes. I figured go ahead and just change up the name. I mean, it was using Redskins Rundown, even though it was the football team, just because it was, they didn't change the name yet.
Catchy.
And it was catchy. I did like it. But given they did change the name, I guess, you need to come up with something new. So I guess for now, Commanders Countdown.
What were we going to call it? The football team focus?
I know, right? Like, there wasn't really much great with that. What was I think I had an idea. Washington wrap up. I think that was the idea I had.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, the Washington.
But I stuck with the Redskins Rundown. But since they did change the name now,
held on to it for a bit longer.
Commanders Countdown will be the working name and possibly the permanent name. That's the best one that we've gotten so far. So
yeah, if you guys have better ideas, I mean, we're a very interactive show. So I mean, fucking feel free to write in your ideas and shit. So
yeah, definitely.
We're always open. As long as it's not terrible. If it's a terrible idea, don't bother to send it in, of course. Like if you're gonna come up with an idea like the Armada, keep that shit at home.
I'm not a huge fan of Commanders, but there was several other, or like the Brigade or the Presidents or the Admirals.
Yeah,
Commanders, and it's kind of generic and not great, but it's not as bad as
better
some
than
of the
all
others.
Those ones. Yeah,
absolutely.
I liked
agree
Red
with
Hogs. I liked football team. And I liked, obviously, the Red Wolves, as we've discussed.
Well, if Red Wolves was there, it'd be number one, I would say. But yes,
when
that was out, Red Hogs would have been cool. I would have been fine with that. Yeah. If they want to honestly, let me read this quote from Daniel Snyder, everyone's favorite motherfucker.
There is.
As an organization, we are excited to rally and rise together as one under a new identity, while paying homage to our local roots and what it means to represent the nation's capital as we kick off our 90th season. It is important for our organization and fans to pay tribute to our past traditions, history, legacy, and the greats that came before us. We continue to honor and represent the burgundy and gold while forging a pathway to a new era in Washington. Today may mark the first day for the Washington Commanders, but we are and always will be Washington. So a lot of this stuff kind of feels like mouth service.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah,
I guess so, but
yeah.
And after having two seasons of time to come up with the logo and the logo, it literally went from one W to another W.
Yeah.
I guess there's like a patch now, that circle patch, which is cool. I do like that. But
that's cool. Like, I think that would have been a cooler logo than anything. Because that at least, kind of commemorates the past and everything. But like with the years of the Super Bowls and everything. So the creativity, not the best.
No, not at all.
As far as that goes, the name, I have more of an issue with the lack of creativity in the logo than I do with the actual name. The name, like I said, I think we'll get used to the name in time.
Yeah, you're probably right.
There's plenty of teams in the NFL that have weird ass names.
That is true. That's one thing I was thinking about the day that they changed the name, and I'm like, it's soaked in. And at first, I'm like, oh man, and then I'm all right, it's not so bad. You think about the teams like the Packers and the Dolphins, and if you were a fan of a team, and they're like, oh, we're changing our name to the Dolphins, you'd be like, are you fucking joking?
And I saw a lot of people say, it's like, what about the Niners? And I was like, hopefully you get that. I was like, it's about the
but that's
rush.
Also but same with the Packers. The Packers, obviously, there's a lot of history to the name. But if you just heard that name,
if you just
obviously they probably wouldn't name a team that without the history. But so maybe that's not a good example. But there are others though, plenty of, and a lot of them are just basic animal names. You got the Bears, you got the Eagles, you got the Lions. None of those are particularly inventive or creative. So it's just because Commanders it's a new name and it's not particularly flashy, and it's not exactly what people wanted. Most people that had an opinion, well, the large majority wanted Red Wolves, Not everybody did. Some people didn't like that either. But I know if they had made it that, there would have been a lot more of an enthusiastic response to it. Like at this point, it's going to take some time, and they might need to. We'll put up some pictures of the new jerseys.
Yeah,
There's 3 of Well, they have a black alternate. That'd probably be the biggest new addition to the jersey lineup, which I do actually like the black one. It has a DC flag on the side. It is nice. I've always liked black uniforms, so to have a black alternate like that is pretty cool. The burgundy one I also like a lot. That one's pretty sweet. The only one I'm not a big fan of is the white one. That one I feel like needs some work.
Yeah, I think.
Or they need to redo the sleeves at least.
Yeah, and like the color.
And the red and the number, it just doesn't
burgundy.
work.
It's just too light. The red's too light. It needs to be, like more like, point to the back and like obviously everybody that can see the background here is like that burgundy. Yeah. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be darker. I guess Jason Wright tried to say something like in the same tone. I was like, bro, with respect, you're high.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way it's the same.
I also just the sleeve designs with I really just don't like it. The helmet is cool, but I don't like the way that looks. So I'm hoping, obviously this can be a work in progress. Things can change. They'll have other uniforms. Nothing, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that. Well, yeah, I don't even know what that's going to, that's.
Well, I mean, Jason Wright was saying, he's like, we like a lot of it because, it's like, like, on the warpath, he's like, and obviously like the fight for old DC can stay. So he's like, obviously.
I have seen some posts like online of people posting ideas that didn't sound absolutely terrible, but
people with their fan ideas, and it does seem like they're going to engage the fan participation for. So they didn't really like. I mean, they did to some degree on the name. Obviously, you weren't going to make everybody happy.
It seems like they did, but I don't know. If you asked me, I would say they didn't, but.
Yeah, they didn't ask you specifically. Did you?
I mean, when did you watch that shit on Facebook when they revealed the name? All the comments on Facebook. I mean, like 98% of them were just shitting on it and did not like it. So you get like 1 every 20 that was like. Yeah. And they weren't even enthusiastic about it. They were just like, no, it's okay. We'll move. We'll go accept it. Which is now where I am. Like a week later, I'm like, all right, well, I guess we'll get used to it. But no one was happy, so it's just hard to be like, oh, they really listen to the fans. But
yeah.
I don't know. And then I guess the issue with the Red Wolves thing is the trademark stuff. But I mean, I don't know how much of that is just saying that or if maybe it would have cost too much money. But I don't know. I think it would have been worth the investment to maybe if it was a matter of money. But
it seemed to be the more popular name from at least, like the fan groups that we could see, which obviously isn't, the tell-all because there's only so many people in there. But yeah, exactly. So. And then, after spending the last 2 seasons as the Washington football team, obviously the expectations were pretty high because, people either obviously grew to like that name or they just fucking hated it the whole time. And they're like, let's get us something new. But either way, everybody was excited.
I actually grew to like it. I mean, I got this jacket. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I only got this a few months ago, and now they changed the damn name. But at least I have something.
You can still wear it
from when this was I feel like it's a part of the history.
That's the burgundy that they need to.
Yeah, and I do like this jacket. This is a nice jacket. I mean, it is very nice. The colors are, I do like it a lot. And then this grew on me, but I did expect something at least a little bit better than like in terms of the logo. The uniforms aren't bad, other than that white one, which I'm really just hoping
they need to make it that burgundy on your jacket there. They need to make it darker like that, and then it'll be okay.
And do something with the sleeves. I mean, it is just they don't look. I don't know. Yeah. But like I said, these things can be changed. I know Jason Wright said that they have a lot of stuff planned for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Unveiling new things, and obviously things like uniforms can change. People. So, we'll see what happens. Like I've even, everyone has their fan ideas. And like, there was one I saw with a different alternate away uniform with the actual burgundy and gold. Like it should look really. And I was like, well, that's what they should do.
Yeah. I saw that too. Maybe they'll integrate that because I did think that looked a lot more sharp. But and then, one day after Washington unveiled its new team name, logo, and uniforms at FedEx Field, 6 former team employees testified before Congress at a roundtable concerning the investigation into Washington's toxic workplace culture under Snyder. New allegations emerged against Snyder at Wednesday's roundtable, in which Snyder responded acknowledging past issues with the franchise, but he strongly denied the new claims. More news was released Friday as Congress has set a deadline of ironically enough, Valentine's Day to deal with potential sexual harassment suit investigation. But they've set a deadline of the 14th for the NFL to release everything on their year-long investigation of the Washington Commander football team.
Oh man, that
Yeah.
I don't even blame you. I don't even blame you.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man,
anyway,
but we already know we all hate Dan Snyder, and
Yeah.
here you go. I mean,
it might be a chance to get him out.
maybe I hope so. 'cause,
Smoke
I
the
mean,
monster out.
Everything it just gets harder and harder. It
Yeah.
seems like
Yeah.
it really does. But yeah, I mean, I guess on some halfway more positive-ish news, even though the next year's draft or this upcoming draft class isn't impressive at all.
Yeah.
This week at the Senior Bowl,
Yeah.
Washington top executives Martin Mayhew and Marty Herney are in town. Offensive coordinator Scott Turner and quarterbacks coach Ken Zampese are also there as well.
Spending the
in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeehaw! Yes, sir. Down in the good old Mobile, Alabama, at the Senior Bowl.
The Commanders have
Yes, sir.
extensively scouted the draft the draft eligible quarterbacks throughout the college football season, of course, as every 32 of the 32 teams do, because of course.
Yeah.
But there is nothing like seeing them at the Senior Bowl, where for some players it's the first time they will take a snap from under center. So a good look at what might be coming in the draft. Although if you ask me, I don't think anything in the draft is going to make or break. Well, not going to make or help our team get any better. I think if we're going to have any chance, we're going to have to land somebody that's already an existing player.
Yeah.
Most likely.
And I think that's what Ron said at his end of the season presser. He's Washington's made it clear that they're looking for a veteran quarterback, and they plan on trying to swing big in free agency. But obviously, if that attempt falls short, they've got to you've got to check all your boxes and make sure that you go through everything. So,
yeah, and they have met with two of the quarterbacks that will be in the draft.
Two of at least the six, so far that's been reported.
There's Carson Strong of Nevada and Malik Willis of Liberty, and I know Malik Willis. He's more of one of the running types.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, right?
He's very mobile, and he actually was the one. Malik Willis was the one that helped his draft stock the most in a downpour of rain. He actually was slinging the ball around and scrambling around really good out there in one of the practices on Thursday. So he looked really great, considering like Washington, as we've seen in recent years, is a place that can have at times sloshy field conditions. So I mean he looked pretty good out there. I mean he definitely.
Yeah, and then on the other side you got Carson Strong, who is a bit of an opposite, but he has the ideal size. He's 6'3", 226. He's got a strong arm, good accuracy, but apparently he has an old knee injury that may or may not be problematic. Sometimes when these players get injured younger in college, doesn't seem to be as bad, or maybe when they're younger, it seems like injuries don't necessarily hamper their career as bad. If a 30-year-old tears their ACL versus a 22-year-old, like let's say like Chase Young, he tore his ACL, but he's 22. He's hopefully he can come back and be healthy. The older you are, I feel like it gets harder and harder. So hopefully that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, and I've always looked at it too as in that situation, like for example, one major situation was I thought going to be Tua after he basically had his hip torn all up in that national championship game, and he's come back and missed no games in the NFL barely. I think he's missed a couple games, but I mean he's mostly been reliable. So I mean more than likely. You would hope that wouldn't be an issue. As you mentioned, he is a bigger guy. So obviously, all the people that say Heinecke is too small. He's 6'3", 226, has a strong arm, really good accuracy. Malik Willis is the opposite, and he is a little bit more of a scrambler. He has a rocket arm as well, and he's got demonstrated some good escapability and ability to move around in the pocket. So interesting to see if they get any of those guys. I think they're 11th in the draft.
Yes, 11th. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if either of them are available. If either of them are available, I would think that if you've got the spot and it's there, you probably take it and see what happens. Doesn't mean they maybe won't try and find somebody else, because I know Heinecke is he's going to be the backup, but they probably want somebody to be a starter that if they do draft somebody that they can learn. I mean, maybe they have three. They have, whoever they draft as third and Heinecke, and then, whoever else they could possibly find. But
or they might have Heinecke do the bridge thing for a year where
possible, and that's also possible too. Which I wouldn't be mad if that happened. If and then maybe play the rookie sometimes, and then maybe see how that goes. Maybe that's a big gamble because I feel like Washington has terrible luck when it comes to drafting any rookie quarterback. But maybe we'll get lucky. But this class isn't as good as it's been in the past. So but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, anybody could go in and take off. You never know.
Right.
So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the draft. See if they trade up. If maybe they want to target somebody and they do trade up. But yeah, biggest news though is definitely the name change, which is unfortunate. I think most of us think, but but it'll take getting used to. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see what they do over the next 2 years in terms of like Jason Wright said, there's going to be things happening. So interesting to see what those are going to be. And you know what? If next season we come out and make the playoffs and maybe win a few games in there, that'd be great. Go Commanders then.
Yeah. I think everybody would, be more eased into it, obviously. If you guys come out and have a great season, it'd be a lot easier to get behind it.
And if we stay healthy, I honestly think that that's entirely possible. It really is.
Yeah,
if we have a good quarterback under center, we have like a Russell Wilson type, then.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that you guys are, just a quarterback away from, if the roster stays pretty much intact, obviously you guys aren't going to be able to keep everybody, but, with the foundation you have with Gibson, with obviously got to bring back McKissick, with Terry McLaurin, obviously, the offensive line wasn't half bad. We'll have to see if Sheriff comes back or not. But, yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. I think they're really, honestly, truly just a good quarterback away. And, I mean, that's not to say that Taylor wasn't good or anything, because he definitely had moments. But he also wasn't healthy the entire season. I mean, he dealt with COVID. And, I mean, even then they were still a 7-10 team. So they finished,
Although the whole team looked rough in the first few games. So when they found some rhythm, they actually started to look a lot better. But then it all fell apart due to the COVID and the injuries. So but it'll be really interesting to see how things go if everything can stay, going well next season. But that is a long time away. And short of this new name news, there's really not probably going to be a whole lot more Commanders news, I guess, coming up. I'm sure there'll be some stuff, minor stuff to cover since the name's new. I'm sure they're going to have some stuff happening to talk about. But with the name thing, that's the biggest.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll let you know anything else that comes up. The name is that's the big news. And like I said, probably going to take some getting used to for most of us. I don't think anyone's really happy about it, but it is what it is. And I do think with time it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us this week on the Niners news update. It's unfortunately a bit of a somber week because for the first time we next week won't be having another game to bring you, which is kind of a bummer. Obviously, great season. I just want to say, super proud of all the Niners and the season that they had. I mean, a hell of a job from a team that started 3-5 to finish down the stretch 10-7.
Yeah, I was gonna say they didn't start out that great. Like the season did start out kind of rough, but yeah, they definitely came together and we're looking very good. I mean, this game was extremely close. The Rams, as I said before, they looked like a really good team. They did look like the stronger team, in my opinion, before the game. So, but the fact it was that close also wasn't that surprising because the Niners also looked extremely good as well. So, the Rams to me they just look a lot like they just look like a Super Bowl team to me this year, and they are going. But I really hope that Joe Burrow and the Bengals takes them out. But
yeah, you're not wrong about any of that assessment. Unfortunately, the Rams are definitely a very good team. They're very well coached by McVay. So, obviously, the only thing that I kind of thought about like going into that game was the fact that like I mentioned to you previously, that we had 6 straight wins against them.
Hmm.
49ers versus the Rams. So
Yeah, and two within this season.
2 within this season, yeah, and one that was like a total blowout, like a 31-10 game. Uh, so um, so basically, let's get into the game just a little bit before we move on, and I can start the process, because honestly, it was a rough night. I was definitely pretty bummed about that. But yeah, I mean, at one point we had a 17-7 lead. You know, Jimmy had thrown 2 touchdown passes on the evening. He was 16 of 30, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Um, Debo, the leading receiver, 4 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Kittle, also 2 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk had 4 catches for 69 yards. The telling story on this, honestly, was the fact that the Niners really struggled to run the ball, which was completely different. I mean, you'll remember in the first matchup against the Rams when we beat them 31-10, we went on that 19-play drive that was super long. That
Was that the 11-minute drive? Was it that? Because you guys had 2. You had like a 9-minute or 10, and then Washington had like a 10-minute something, and then you guys got another one. I think in the following week that was like
it might have
11
been
something.
like 13 minutes. If I'm remembering
What?
correctly, I'll have to look it up.
Damn.
But yeah. So anyway, but like, so in the previous 2 games, we'd been able to run the ball well, but in this game, Debo had 7 carries for 26 yards. Elijah Mitchell 11 carries for 20 yards. So I mean, the Niners only managed to run for 50 total yards, and the Rams, outrushed us 70 yards to 50. So they didn't run the ball great either. But I mean, the difference was Matt Stafford was 31 of 45, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 1 pick to Jimmy Ward. Should have had 1 other pick, to Jaquaski Tart, but unfortunately it was dropped late in the 4th quarter, which could have definitely sealed the game for us. So, obviously the loss not on anybody in particular. It was just a lot of unfortunate things that happened. Jimmy getting pressured up the middle on the last play of the game by Aaron Donald.
Jimmy also being banged up to some extent definitely did not help.
on just like a jailbreak where the Aaron Donald just got like almost right through the line. Jimmy had like no
I know,
chance.
yeah, that was terrible, man.
And, he
it's
was
like he thought there was hope, and then of course, who is it? Who was it? None other than Aaron fucking Donald.
And they didn't get a sack all game. That was like, and they still didn't because he got it off and it was a pick. But like that was like really the first major pressure. But the Rams stopped the run well all game, and you got to give them credit holding us to. We wanted to come in and run the ball, and
yeah, of course
they made us have to beat them with Jimmy, which he almost did. That pick came on the last play of the game, so obviously Jimmy made some other errors at other points in the game with like missed opportunities on throws, but this loss wasn't on any particular player. This loss wasn't certainly on Jimmy. Jimmy gave us a lot in the 5 years that we had him, and we're excited to have Trey. And more than likely we'll be moving on from Jimmy. But, yeah, I mean, definitely not. It's great to make it as far as you did, but obviously, pretty.
Oh, it's still
pretty heartbreaking loss, yeah. Yeah, but obviously proud of the way that they played this season.
Yeah, to get that far, you have to be happy with your team, like in the way they played. But yes, it doesn't make losing any easier.
Yeah, and then just one last thing to mention before I move on the stats. Want to also mention Robbie was 1 for 1 on field goals, so keeping his perfect postseason streak alive. And also the Niners defense had 2 sacks. Bosa had 1.5. Samson Ebukam was credited with a half sack. So Bosa, continuing to be,
an absolute monster.
Just an absolute monster. 15.5 sacks in the regular season. And I want to say about like 5 in the postseason. I think he got at least 1 in every game. So definitely happy to have him. And that actually brings us into our next Niners news. After the heartbreaking loss at the end of the season press conference with John and Kyle, they discussed the futures of you know, star players Nick Bosa and Debo Samuel, you know, who are both in line for contract extensions this offseason. So John Lynch has said long-term deals for both players have been budgeted for, and you know, so this was a quote that he had, John Lynch. And so just to get it out of the way, with he and Nick, we fully understand these guys are pillars of what we're trying to do here. We've been blessed that we've been aggressive because we've had a lot of the best players that we believe are some of the best in the league at what they do. And these guys are no different. And so we have really good lines of communication with their representatives. Those will continue. I'm not going to put timelines on it, but obviously planning has been done to account for those guys. And yes, there's some interesting dynamics with Debo playing multiple positions, but bottom line is he's an excellent football player, and so I'm sure we'll find a way to get that done. Like I said, it's been budgeted for. So that's great news as a Niners
definitely.
fan to hear, because obviously we can't lose either of those guys.
No.
You know,
Those are staples of the team.
Yeah.
Like you gotta keep
Yeah.
those guys.
yeah, the fifth-year option, which obviously the Niners are going to pick up on Bosa,
Mhm.
you know, as a 2019 first-round pick, would keep him under contract through 2023. Samuel has one more year left on his rookie deal. So the Niners would have to franchise tag him or free agent him after this season if it came to that. But obviously they're hoping to get a deal done sooner rather than later, if at all possible. And obviously with the anticipated departure of Jimmy, that could free upwards of about $25 million off the books in, you know, structuring new deals for both of them.
Right,
Yes.
right.
I saw something that was projected. Bosa's projected to make over like $30 million a year. And I was like, oh my God, that's a lot for
Holy
an edge
shit.
rusher. I mean, he's definitely, you know, one of our, other than Trent Williams, probably our best player. But
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if he's worth that much. I mean, Jesus.
well,
I mean, actually, well, I would say he is personally, but for most edge rushers, like I don't know, man.
yeah,
There's like a couple in the league that might warrant that much,
yeah.
but damn,
I mean,
that's a lot.
I think he's making on the top end of what they make. So
I would
obviously,
expect,
you know,
yeah.
certainly excited to get them both under long-term contracts. I certainly would hate to ever see either of them in another uniform other than the Niners.
Yeah.
So also in Niner news, despite getting interest as a head coaching candidate, you know, in his first year as a defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans has rejected the Vikings offer to become the head coach. It was expected to have been a done deal if he wanted the job, but he has informed everyone that he will be returning to San Francisco for a second season. So we are ecstatic to have him back, as I know at least I am, because I think with what he did, I mean, we had a great defense. We ranked in the top, you know, 5 overall, and we had issues at cornerback all season with Jason Verrett going down game 1. So I mean, you figure, you know, Josh Norman had a league-leading 7 defensive penalties, and he was in there most of the season. Then we had Ambry Thomas, who was a rookie learning on the go, and Emmanuel.
He did a lot of good stuff, though. Ambry Thomas
He did. And
well,
then we had Emmanuel Mosley, who was our best corner that we had. He even missed some time with injuries. So I fully expect the Niners to, you know, early in the draft. I know we don't have a first-round pick, but I do expect them to address cornerback probably with their first pick of the draft, I would anticipate.
Yep, that's basically what we got up to look forward to is the draft.
Yeah,
that's
and
the next. Well, after the Super Bowl, of course, but you know, in terms of Niners and
yeah,
you know, teams that aren't in the Super Bowl, that's what we got to look forward to.
Yeah, and I mean that's anticipated. I mean that's good news because we may actually lose, as we discussed earlier, Mike McDaniel to the Dolphins for their head coaching job as our offensive coordinator. So hopefully not. Hopefully he's able to stay as well, but we'll have to see. It did seem like the Niners made a move anticipating the Dolphins would hire him when they made the move to hire former Los Angeles Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn. Funny enough, Anthony Lynn is a former 49ers running back as a backup running back in the NFL. Anthony Lynn was head coach of the Chargers for 4 seasons. you know, interestingly enough, if you want to talk about potential, you know, black head coaches, he has an African American head coach that get fired with winning records. Anthony Lynn was 31 and 30, or sorry, 33 and 31 after 4 seasons, so he did have a winning record. So another one. I will say those 2 winning seasons were the earlier 2 years, and then the later 2 years were the losing seasons. So I mean, it could have just been because
yeah. See, context matters there.
It
You
does.
say that over 4 years, and you're like, well, I mean, that's not like a great record, but it's at least above 50.
I'm a very, and one of those years was a 12-4 year with.
Oh, so some of those years were
Yeah.
were not good then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
those last two couldn't have been very good.
yeah. So like I said, I think that let me get that up real quick. But I think that move was really anticipatory of losing Mike McDaniel to the Dolphins. But yeah, so he was 9-7 his first year, 12-4 his second year, 5-11 his third year, and then 7-9 his third year, or his fourth year. I'm sorry, with the Chargers, and he was fired after the 2020 season. And obviously they hired Brandon Staley, who was.
That sounds reasonable enough. I mean,
into the playoffs. Yeah, I mean that could just be circumstance. I wouldn't say that seems as, like if he had the 2 winning seasons, like Brian Flores had his 2 winning seasons at the end there, so it's like that's a little bit different,
his is a little bit different. Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, we're getting Anthony Lynn. He's known as a great offensive mind, even though he wasn't the best head coach and made questionable clock management decisions. He is also known for developing Justin Herbert into the Rookie of the Year because he coached him. And who do we have starting under center next year?
Trey. So that'll be helpful to have.
Yeah. And in 2018, Anthony Lynn's Chargers had the best running game in football. So he adds an element to hopefully be able to help our great run game get even better now that we have the. And he was also the offensive coordinator in Buffalo when they had Tyrod Taylor. So he's worked in offenses where they've had mobile quarterbacks before. So excited to get Coach Lynn on the roster. And obviously, we've also reported that as of today, Richard Hightower, our 5-year special team coordinator, will be signing with the Bears. So he's out. Early rumors for replacements are Rich Bisaccia, Raiders special teams coach and interim head coach, and then former New York Giants head coach Joe Judge is actually in the consideration for Niners special teams coordinator. So we'll continue to monitor that. I really hope it's not Joe Judge. Although I'm sure he's a lot more competent to run the special teams than he is an actual entire football team. But
probably. That's probably true. But still don't want him.
Yeah, neither. But stay tuned, Niner faithful. I know it sucks. I know it's heartbreaking, but we will be back. I mean, enjoy the season for what it was. Be proud of it because, we had a hell of a run. I mean, to start 3-5 and really seem out of it and everybody be calling for Jimmy's head and then, to turn it around. And in the games where we needed Trey to step in and win for us, we did. And, I mean, it was just a hell of a season. So join us back next week and, we'll recap any news that we have that happens throughout the week. But take it easy, everybody.
Take it easy, everyone.
You do, all you guys, the media. Since I got here, you guys have been awesome. It's been some ups and downs between all of us, but for the most part, you guys have been awesome. Just good group to deal with. You guys are very, very engaging, and it's just fun to be around you guys. You're from Eric making the jokes to everything in between. Just it's been a fun ride, guys, and I really appreciate you for that. And yeah, I'll miss you guys. So thank you guys again. Faithful, thank you very much for everything. It's been crazy, man. Just all the comebacks at Levi's, comebacks on the road, ups and downs. It's been a hell of a ride, guys. I love you guys. So see ya.
All right. If you like what you saw and you enjoyed our content, make sure that you hit the subscribe button on it's right here, for more content, and then you can get notified every time we post shit and, update you on the latest and greatest NFL news. Next week, we recap the Super Bowl. So hopefully, go Bengals. And
yeah, definitely go Bengals.
Who Day Nation, I'm hoping that they get that win.
Need Joey Burrow to pull through.
Joey B. Like I said, I got my Bengal orange on, so I'm hoping, we'll see what happens. Like I said, like and subscribe. Roscoe.
You just got this done.
For more Roscoe content as well. But thanks for joining us on the Extra Point Show, and 20 episodes, everybody. So, you guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You guys have been fucking solid, so we appreciate you guys. So, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Have a good night.